Sometimes I feel like a criminal, feel like a castaway. This world keeps changing and I can't keep the pace. It's like a race, I didn't know I was running. But there are some things like rudders in the storm, someone to keep you warm, a friend to raise your glass, to take off your mask and tell the truth, to just be you. Oh yeah, alright, trying to make sense of it all tonight. Oh no, here we go, this won't be the last time. I'm shouting and struggling and feeling like you're nothing, trying not to give in, not to take it on your chin, trying to wear your thicker set of skin. Music, it makes you feel good, makes you feel
all right, well, we're getting ready to go live. Hope you are enjoying the tunes from the beats. Some follow the title, Here We Go. Awesome cover.
Oh,
Welcome to the show, Addison Simmons. Man, welcome back. This is the first time ever, yeah?
Yes, first time, hopefully for more times.
Dude, I'm excited to have you on. For a lot of people that have been tuning into our show, we've had a lot of different guests on, from physical trainers to business owners to people that work in the restaurant industry to musicians. So I mean, we're kind of all over the place with our podcast, and it brings me so much happiness to bring on a former player, a former awesome student, and just graduated from Belmont.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy. I honestly didn't think that I didn't think I'd graduate on time. Two, it's crazy. I graduated college. I'm the first in my family to graduate college, so it's like
Really?
big for me. Yeah, I'm first, like, before my parents. Like, neither of my parents graduated college, so I'm the first Simmons to graduate college.
You know what? That's actually amazing to hear, man. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Obviously, you have brothers, all that I've met and interacted with, all have been great to me. Like, I have zero complaints ever to anybody. And honestly, your entire family's always been great to me. So it's just been awesome to see you grow up the past few years, Addison. Once again, Addison, a part of a really cool band called The Beats. Talk to us. The Beans, not the Beats, the Beans.
There we go.
Talk to us about it.
So the Beans, honestly, it's just like this little passion project that me and my best friend started like a year and a half ago or something like that. I used to play drums for a folk band called the Bad Hats.
Okay.
And I was a drummer for that, did a whole album with them and everything, played a couple shows with them. And so that's how I met my guitarist and my best friend, Rocky. Like, he was the mandolin player for that band, and he got me in that band. Mm-hmm. And so I've always hung around them. They're like my closest friends now. And then our buddies that are in a band called the band Watkins, they started in just a Monday open mic at their house, just for letting people just to come and have a platform to play. Like, even if you don't write, you play covers. You can go up there, you can tell jokes. You could do anything you wanted. And so that was like the first time that I was like, I'm going to go out of my comfort zone and play something, because I never played in front of anybody. Like, you didn't even know that I played.
Yeah,
you had no idea.
That was something that we were talking about right before we came on. You were listing the amount of instruments that you can play, and I was just like, dude, you could play all this while you were playing for us in high school? I mean,
yeah, no, it's just like, and then like even the beginning of college, like I was always too nervous or too scared. I was always feel like I'd be like judged, like judged too hard or whatever, like playing in front of people. But I went up there and I played, and everybody was just like, what the hell? Like, where the fuck has this been?
Yeah.
Like, they've just been like, they were just super shocked.
I mean, I was shocked, man. I mean, if you guys were listening, once again, the Beans were playing a song that they have created, one of their first singles, right before the podcast started, and you can hear the vocals. That's you, Addison.
Yeah, that's me. That's me singing.
That's insane. So yeah, man. I mean, it's one of those things where you mentioned being nervous about performing, which is crazy to me, man, because I've seen you do so many other things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I watched you play snap after snap after snap after snap. You know what I mean? Like there's so many things that I just kind of take for granted because I've seen you compete.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, dude, no way you can handle that.
No, it's like, that's the thing. Like, people would be like, I've like if there's like, for me, there's a difference in being competitive, like on the field. Like, I mean, I could get after it. Like,
yeah, absolutely,
like,
man.
I could get after it. But then there's like behind closed doors when I'm just me. And I was just like kind of like just too scared. I was too afraid to just kind of like step out there and get out of that comfort zone. But after I played like one song and heard everybody like react until it and just come up to me, I immediately was like, okay, I'll play another one like right now.
Yeah.
So like I was automatic, just hooked. I was like, I don't want to not perform again.
Now, would you say that your parents had anything to do with this as well? Because I know that your parents had a little bit, maybe your grandparents had a little bit of a music background.
I taught myself how to play everything.
That's insane, man.
I can't even read music. I play by ear. So like I just teach myself. I just taught myself. Like I remember hearing the first time my parents ever told me they heard me playing any kind of music was my grandma when I was little. Like I'd be like 3 years old. I'd hear her play like simple stuff like on the piano. Like she'd play like Little Star like on the piano, and then I'd grab like the Tykes like kids piano, and I would play the keys and figure out like the sounds and where they would go, and then I would like as a 3-year-old be playing exactly what she is playing like on the little Tykes piano. So like that was like ever since I was a kid, I was always like just trying to figure out the sounds and how everything goes and how everything falls in order and everything. So I've basically just been around music my entire life.
That's awesome, man, and it's so cool to like see that other side of you because I mean you're right, dude. You talk about competitiveness. Yeah, dude. I mean you're one of when I think of some of the top like most physical receivers that I've ever coached, in terms of strongest. I mean you're absolutely up there. When you talk about just in terms of raw power on the field and strength on the field. I mean, you inspired other guys to be physical.
Hashtag block like Hattie.
I mean, yeah. I mean, you literally had, people that grew up and later on played as hard as you played.
Yeah.
And I think that's special. You know what I mean? And I always love that about some of the guys that have played for me.
Yeah.
Pretty much all the guys. I mean, it's really hard for me to say that any of my guys don't play hard or have never, given effort. Like that's something that it was just a given. So. It's cool. It's cool to see.
No, I'm like I just like worked. I just worked my ass off to get to where I was. Ended up being like my senior year and everything, just to get to like that final point. Like even though it's not like how I wanted it, like that competitive drive is what got me to where I am now. So.
And that's what I think. That's what it's all about.
That was the main thing I really took out of it. Was like I learned how to compete and I learned how to get what I wanted by busting my butt and working my absolute hardest to get to that.
And I think like there's like preparation that goes into it. I think there's discipline that goes into it. You know what I'm saying? Like that there's just like when you talk about everything that you guys are put through as athletes, especially, in certain places, I mean, dude, it makes you a really tough person. And it's like I said, the coolest thing is seeing you translate that to real life. You know what I mean? Like that's the coolest thing. And I've had friends on here from all of my phases of life. I had friends on here that I've known since I was like 12.
Yeah.
I've had people on here that have known me strictly as a teacher, as a coach. I've had people that have known me only as like a college, graduate.
Yeah.
And so like just the wide variety of people, the thing that always seems to be the same is, if you work hard, if you bust your ass, and if you stick to it, there's always going to be something that you can find.
Yeah. And like that whole competitive drive and like busting your butt and like in this, I don't want to like talk crap right now, but like in the society that we're in, like where everything's like people think it's just handed to you, it's like the softness, and they don't understand like when it wasn't like this, people actually like had to work for what they got.
So what do you think about all this? I mean, what's going on right now. I hate to even bring it up. It's one of those things where I don't know what YouTube does with this, dude. I don't know if they blacklist us. I don't know. Okay. But obviously, some people are still under lockdown.
Yeah.
How first of all, how was that for you, man? I mean, I don't know where you're at.
Well, I mean, one thing that sucked with it was like the online school. Like just not even on. I actually love doing the whole online thing. It's just the fact that like my last little bit of college was just like gone.
Yeah, that is
like
true.
A fart in the wind. Like it's taken away, which sucked. But I mean, like. It is what it is. Like, I mean, I knew what I had to do. Like, I was like, well, I still have to go to school. I still got to graduate and everything. So I just kind of put that in my head before everything else.
Oh, shit.
That came out of nowhere. How did that fall?
It just wobbled, I guess.
Oh. There's a ghost in here.
There's a ghost in here.
No, but I mean, like, I just focused on that and just focused on getting that degree. That kind of was like what kept me occupied for this whole time.
Dude, honestly, like I want to pause right here and talk about what it was like being a college senior in the middle of this whole pandemic, whatever you want to go ahead and however you want to describe it. But dude, like, were you on campus? Were you off? You're off campus by now, yeah.
Yeah, I was living off campus.
So, like, could you imagine being on campus in the middle
No,
of that?
so like
shit,
I've had friends. I had friends who had to like fly from their homes to come move their stuff out like of their dorms and just fly back home.
that sucks.
Yeah, it really
Oh,
does. Like they'd have to like go through the school, like entire campus is closed. They'd have to go through this whole process of going through the school, like getting a date and time of when you can come and move all your stuff out.
When was this happening? Did they start doing that this
Man,
past week?
They've been doing it for weeks now, like a month now. They've been doing it just right when Belmont said that they were.
When did they send y'all
close.
home?
Well,
send
so
them
I
home,
was
do you remember?
so I was actually we were on spring break when this whole thing went down. So I was in Colorado when this whole thing was going down. I was in Colorado.
I could imagine there's worse places to be
Yeah,
stuck.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
that was a pretty great place to be stuck for a little bit. But we're like right the day before I was flying to Colorado was when Belmont extended spring break. So they extended spring break like before spring break even started. So I was already like, hell yeah, because I was gonna have to fly back from Colorado early,
Yeah.
like before leaving with my family to come back.
So
school.
at first it sounds kind of good,
So
right?
at first it sounded good, so I was like, cool, I can stay here even longer. But then while we were in Colorado,
Mhm.
stuff started to close while we were in Colorado. Then the mountain closed, so I wasn't even able to go snowboard or anything like
Oh my
that.
God.
And then it got a point where everything was closing down where we weren't even gonna be able to fly home for like 2 weeks. We were gonna have to be stuck in this.
So what'd y'all end up doing? Did y'all just like?
So luckily, I mean, big flex real quick, but luckily we flew private.
Oh.
So luckily we flew private, so we said, hey, can y'all come and pick us up a couple days early? And so
Yeah.
the jet came, got us, and we came back, and then came back to the house, and then by the time we'd gotten back, they had already canceled school for the rest of the semester. And then
Wow.
we started online March 22nd.
Okay, so y'all basically kicked it back on.
Yeah,
and
it was
just went
literally
all
right
online.
when we came back to school
Yeah.
is when we just kicked it online.
What's so crazy is from what I actually know, I know somebody who's at Belmont right now as an undergrad, and they're talking about how weird it was that basically it just college went on.
Yeah,
It's
college
not
still
like
happened.
anything-
It's not like anything it's not like they didn't take in place. If something happened with the student, they're just like,
Yeah, they're like, here's your work.
here's your work.
Here's
And,
your Zoom class.
A lot of the teachers we're doing all the stuff with Blackboard Collaborate, doing
Yeah.
the live class sessions, but most of them were just handing kids their work, posting them on Blackboard, and they're just figure it out yourselves, dummies. That's basically how it was. And I'm
Yeah.
glad I never had to do that this semester, because if so, that would have sucked.
Yeah.
Having to teach myself entertainment law would have been awful.
Yeah, so what did you end up having to study, or what did you end up choosing to study? I guess is the best way to put it. As your major and everything like that.
So when I first transferred to Belmont from UT, I was undecided, and then after a semester, I declared music business major,
Okay.
and
okay.
then after 2 semesters of music business, I kind of realized that wasn't the thing for me. Too much math. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And
Info
so
systems and all that.
And so I was they said, well, we have this major called Entertainment Industry Studies,
Mhm.
where it's music business, but on a much wider basis, the entire entertainment industry. So that dives into movies, TVs, books, everything.
Okay.
So I ended up doing entertainment industry studies as my major, but I kept music business as my minor. So I was still doing best of both worlds. I finished my minor
Mhm.
before my senior year even started. I finished my minor my first semester of junior year.
Mhm.
So for the rest of college, I was just focusing on my major, and I kind of had a focus under my major under entertainment marketing. I was trying to do more classes around digital marketing and entertainment marketing and stuff like that, and advertising and everything.
So what would you say would be your biggest takeaway from Belmont? If you were making an ad for Belmont,
Connections. Just get to know people in the industry. Their connections, that's the entire industry. You could meet somebody who's working for a big tour group, and they could be like, we need an extra hand, you're out of a job, come do this.
Mhm.
And the next thing you know, 2 years later, you're on tour crews like all the time, and
Yeah.
you're making like massive amounts of money working in the music industry.
Yeah, because I remember when you graduated, one of the first things that you were excited about, you were going to UT, and
Yeah, I was a graduate. I was going to UT, and I was doing like sports therapy. I was doing something way. I was like way off what I'm doing now.
But isn't that crazy though? Like that's something that you try to explain to kids. That's something that I try to explain to
Yeah,
kids.
I
Like,
try
you
to-
don't know what you're gonna do.
And like I try to explain to people at Belmont, one, when they ask me why did I transfer to Belmont, like usually people transfer out of Belmont to like big schools and everything.
yeah.
I mean going from a big school of like 30,000, like a big party school,
Yeah.
to a school of like 8,000 kids at a private university, like I was definitely the oddball out.
Yeah.
I was the elephant in the room. And
Yeah.
so,
That's what we were talking about before.
I was the elephant in the room. And so like it's just at first it was hard, but I mean like as time went on, like I got used to it and everything, and it was hard at first. Like even tell people like they're super confused, like why did I just like I couldn't handle it at UT.
Really?
was-
Is that what it was?
Yeah, I just couldn't handle it. I was doing making just dumb decisions, doing dumb things, and just not
Dude.
doing the right stuff. And it took a lot for me to admit that for a while.
Yeah.
And so like, but it came time like it was like right at the beginning of November, and I was talking to my parents, and I was just like, I cannot be here anymore. I was like, y'all know how I'm doing school wise, and y'all know like, I know you wanted mom wanted me to go to Belmont like the entire time. And I was just like, I think I want to transfer to Belmont. Because when I first toured Belmont, I was like, I hate this place. I do not want to go here. It's too small, too close to home. Don't really want to be here.
And that's the things you end up liking, by
Exactly.
the way.
And so I was like, I think I was totally wrong about what I wanted. I was like, and plus I got made fun of for playing music at UT. So I was like, fuck this.
a lot of bros up there.
Yeah.
Dude, UT, like honestly, UT Knoxville is not a bad place. I don't want to like.
Yeah, I'm not like I love
bash
Knoxville.
it personally.
I love going back to Knoxville.
It's
Like,
fun.
It's one of it's fun.
So,
like
it's a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun. Like I love going back there. I love seeing my friends there. I
Yeah.
play shows there all the time. Like I love going back and hanging out with my friends and
Mhm.
everything. And me and a bunch of my friends from high school, like we'll all go up there together and everything. We have like some of my favorite memories are going back up there with my friends and just hanging
I think when
out.
you talk about best college memories, man, like honestly, some of my best college memories are in Knoxville.
Yeah,
I
like,
mean,
it's like-
it's legitimately a place. Like it just the way you described it is exactly why I didn't go.
Yeah,
Like,
so
I chose Lipscomb.
and it
because I knew
took
I
me-
wouldn't do that.
it took me a second to realize that, and once I finally realized that, I feel like it made me a better person, that I realized that I was making mistakes, and then realized it made me a bigger person to realize that what I needed to do and how I needed to fix
You
it.
checked yourself.
Yeah, I
man.
checked myself.
mean, and
I literally
that's how
looked.
it's done.
I literally one day I looked at myself in the mirror and I was like, "What the hell are you doing, buddy?" I was like, "Come on, like let's get our shit in check and let's do what we need to do."
And dude, like that, I just want to say, like, I would never, and anybody else associate. I hope that nobody else would ever claim to have any role in that. I think that's all you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, I just want to say
No,
that
that's all
so
me.
much. Like, that is an individual.
And I know that.
Like, checking yourself and like making yourself say, dude, I know what I
Like
can
I know
do,
some of my
and I'm
closest
fixing it."
friends were subliminally like telling me like, "Hey, like come on, like what are you doing, Addison?" Like I know like Daryl, for example, like he would definitely like get in my face and like get on me about like that
Yeah.
stuff, and that's why he's my best friend.
And that's awesome, man. That's what it takes, you know, in terms of accountability. Like, you need people, you know, in your life to
Yeah.
check you. I
Like
mean,
yeah,
it's
like
kinda-
Tav, even though like he made the same mistakes I did, he told me like don't do what I did. So I kind of took that in hand and I evaluated myself that way.
Yeah,
So-
and then obviously, you know, you guys can all learn from each other too. I mean, like the benefit for the youngest one, obviously Keaton, is like
Yeah,
it's tremendous, man. And
I'm
hopefully
glad
he
he's
takes
off.
it,
I'm
you
glad
know.
he's off doing his thing in Colorado, and he's loving
Is that where he is right
he
now?
goes to Colorado State.
I remember him wearing the hoodies because I had him. I ended up having him in a couple classes.
Yeah,
like
I know.
maybe one. I don't know. Man, I gotta say, out of all the three brothers, I definitely got to know pretty much each of you a little bit. But he was the one that was always kind of like the shyest one. He's definitely a little bit
he
more
never-
to himself.
Yeah, one you were a teacher, so that also probably is that.
Well, I was also his coach for a year.
Yeah.
and for a year, like I was like, oh man, this is really fun. Like we had a lot.
yeah,
I hope
I
that-
got to mess Keaton up in drills.
for a year I thought that he had a lot of fun, and I think that that's what it's all about.
Yeah, he loved
know,
it. Yeah.
I think like when people get like that's kind of one of the downfalls of sports, and sometimes people get overly competitive and lose sight of like what's right and what's good for kids, what's good for everybody. And I think that like that can burn kids out, and I think that's ultimately why some kids leave the game. And it's just one of those things that happens. But dude, like so many good memories, even in just like the individual years. Like I could like as personally as a coach, it's weird to say this, but like you usually have like moments that you remember each kid. Like like when you think of a kid, there's a specific play that comes to mind, or there's a specific moment that comes to mind of this kid.
I remember I have one fond memory of me I remember it was when I first started playing H-back, and it was when Miles re-hurt his knee in that JV game and station camp, and I was the only person who knew Z, and so I was like, hell yeah, I get to go back to playing wide receiver. And the first play was where I got to go crack block the linebacker, and I absolutely
destroyed somebody,
annihilated this kid. Like it was the one where he was on the ground, like his helmet flew off, and he was like rolling around. This one where I stepped over him when I turned around. I was saying something. The ref got mad at me, but I remember I saw you on the sideline, and you were walking away just with your thumbs up. You're just like I go back and watch the film. When I hit the kid, you go. Like you bent over and you were just like, oh my God. And you turn away and start walking with your thumbs up. I was like, I remember that hit like it was yesterday.
I mean, it's one of those things, man. That's those are the moments that you love about playing.
Yeah.
Those are the moments that you look back on and you're like, dude, thank you for everything, man. Like the effort, the hard times where it's like, dude, I hate doing this.
Yeah.
But in the times where like it feels so good, you're like, this is why. Yeah. You know what I mean? And like, dude, the thing about playing sports,
those battles between me and Trey, like man, those are some like even though like those like hard times right there for me, but like some of my most fun. I remember one time it was the game we scrimmaged Spring Hill at Spring Hill, and Trey was having a terrible like offense was just not having it that day. I remember that's when Coach T made everybody go and do up downs like in the back of the end zone.
In the middle of it.
In the middle of the game. And then I already knew. I was like, well, Trey's about to get pulled, and I'm about to go in. Yeah. And I had myself a freaking day. I had a touchdown that day. It was crazy. That's awesome. So I just remember that I was having to go against like a 5-star corner.
Yeah, dude, let's talk about that for a second. We have had some crazy memories. Like we played against, and obviously you played and coached against some pretty high profile people.
Yeah, I played against some pretty high caliber athletes.
Now if I remember correctly, I think you were a little bit before Jawan Jennings.
I played. I was. No, they were a little bit before me. I was, I think, a sophomore whenever Jawan was a senior.
I think that makes sense. Yeah, because we played Blackman at our place, and Jawan Jennings is Jawan Jennings.
I remember we played them at their place, and Jawan hit that half spin against Thomas Harmon.
Our fastest player. Can we talk about that for a second?
And just snapped his ankles into pieces. I remember I was like, I remember on the sideline, I was like, oh. I remember I let out just like one of those like, ooh. Like I
can't do that from our sideline.
Yeah, I know. I was like I was like thank God I was in the back of everybody, so none of the coaches heard me. Thank God I'm a sophomore. I was like, oh my God,
dude. Let's talk about that for a second because I know that a lot of people, one of the things that we talked about in a previous podcast was playing against and coaching against Jawan Jennings and people like Josh Malone in high school.
Josh Malone, Jawan Jennings.
So, like, I think the thing that makes these people different, let's talk about this for a second, because you got to see it really up close and personal. From the sideline, it's different, man. Yeah. It's different. Like, when you get to see up and, like, you're trying to block these guys up close, it's way different.
Man, so even doing 7-on-7 against some of them guys, like, shoot. I remember one time we were 7-on-7, I was a senior, we were playing Whitehaven. And it was like the second day of like a 2-day tournament. It was like in Clarksville or something like that.
So you're a little tired.
I remember the first day I had a really bad day that first day. Like I maybe caught like 4 balls out of like 10 that were thrown at me. And I was just getting lit up that day by y'all. But that second day, I remember that second day I went the hell off you weren't even there that day. It was the day that you weren't there.
I have to go to like FCA. Or
You had to
something?
go do something, and
It's ridiculous.
and
miss this.
I caught every ball. I had like 3 touchdowns that day, and then a game we played against Whitehaven, their corner that was like 5-star, committed to South Carolina.
Yeah.
He got ejected from the game because I got in his head, and he tried to fight me.
Oh.
I just kept picking him. I was making him look stupid. It was awesome.
That's tremendous.
It was one of the greatest days. I figured out his game. First, he was like playing way off. Like he was
Give me a huge cushion.
give me massive cushion, huge cushion. So I was like, I just told Joey, I was like, I'm gonna be open on these stop routes all day long. So I remember I caught like 3 in a row, and then he'd press me, and then I'd get off his press. I would run the stop, and then right when Joey would look the other way, I would cut. I would do a dig, and so the guy gone. He had no idea that I'd be doing this. So I did this like another 3 times in a row. So I just kept like changing it the entire time, just messing with his head and everything. I'd do like stop and goes. So he'd like right over the shoulder. And so then the one point he read it right one time, and I still caught it on him, and he picked me up and slammed me on the ground. And
7-on-7,
boom.
you cannot do that.
He picked me up and slammed me on because he was just so mad. He was
Yeah.
so, and the ref kicked him out. And of course, Whitehaven staff got all
Yeah, I mean,
pissy.
we've had some battle with White.
And so I just remember I was like,
Yeah.
wow. That was like, I felt good just to get in the head of like a 5-star athlete that I know is going to go in the SEC and like do some damage. And I was like, this is great for me to have.
The thing is, man, like when you talk about what makes those guys different, you know, what's crazy to me is like I will always remember like we had our fastest players on those guys, and it's just like there truly is a different level.
It's a different
of
caliber
athlete.
of just
of
human nature and just
of genes,
Yeah,
of
it's something.
talent, of everything, man.
It's
just
something like you could have a player on your team that you think is like just the best and go up against someone like Jawan, Jalen Reeves, Maven, Josh
the elite
Malone.
of the elite.
These dudes are playing top ball in the SEC, and your best guy is just
Normal.
stepped on and crapped on. He looks like a normal human being.
And it's demoralizing.
It is
because your guy is supposed to be
the best.
The best. He's the best on your team,
and he's just getting
He's
destroyed.
getting worked, you know. And
That's
never
how it
good.
is.
It's never good for the team. Man.
No, I mean that's how it is. They're just different. It's a different type of person.
And I don't think that the average person watching on TV
Would
or
notice
watching
that.
the ground notice. Like that's the thing that makes people great. When you, as a spectator, when what somebody's doing looks like normal, I
Yeah.
think that's when you know it's special.
Yeah.
You're like, oh man, that guy just made 4 people miss.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that's insanely hard to do. Like all 4 of those guys are trying their absolute hardest to
Like
get
there's just
you.
like these freak of nature athletes. Like I was in my interview earlier today with Emmanuel Hall. He was telling me about in the combine. He had 2 torn groins and ran a 4.3, had a 43.5 vertical, and broke the broad jump at the combine with an 11.9.
Your best high school athlete will broad jump 11. Will broad jump 9 feet.
He
correct.
did that with both legs injured, and I'm just like, how?
That's insane.
And he's getting cut and traded back and forth between NFL teams.
That tells you how special the NFL
And it
is.
tells you how crazy these athletes are.
So
it's
let
nuts.
me talk to you about one of the offensive coordinators you played for. So Levi Brown.
Yeah.
For those of y'all that don't know, Levi Brown
Dope.
played in the NFL. He's awesome. Levi's great. Shout out to Levi Brown. I believe he's offensive coordinator right now in college right now.
Yep.
But Levi, dude, he played in the pros for the Buffalo Bills, and I remember one game pregame in high school level. He's our offensive coordinator. He comes out and pregame he throws with y'all.
Yeah.
And he never really did that much.
No.
But I remember one home game, we're up at the practice field, he just starts throwing the football. And to be real honest, I had never seen a professional quarterback throw up close. Like
Yeah.
I've never been 5 feet away from
I had to
him.
catch those balls.
And so this guy is throwing the ball, and the ball is going like over the uprights, like in terms of ours. Like he was literally just moonballing.
It gets to the top, and right when it gets to the top, it just
Drops
flips down. Yeah.
And I mean, the funniest thing I remember is watching our running backs try to catch it. Like Jahar
Oh
was
my
trying.
God.
It was like a punt, you know.
Yeah.
But
Man.
it was one of those things where you
It's
realize how different professional athletes are than the normal human
It's a
being.
whole different caliber of just body and training and what they do to get themselves to that. I mean, there are high school athletes and college athletes who push themselves to get to that level,
Mhm.
but
Absolutely.
they can push all they want and work as hard as they want. But sometimes, like, it's literally just in the genes and just what you're
What you're made of.
literally.
I mean, like I think science will say that, and I think that's pretty much the end of the day what it is. I mean,
Yeah.
one guy, for example, that I've been trying to get on the podcast. I'll plug it real quick. Reggie Grimes.
Oh,
I'm trying to
man,
get
yeah.
Coach Grimes on the podcast. That's one guy I'm reaching out to. But when you talk about his son, the #1 prospect in Tennessee,
Yeah.
Reggie
I have some
Grimes.
different thoughts about it. I have some
Oh,
thoughts.
Okay. Well, I don't want to rub anybody the wrong way, but I'll say this as far as Reggie goes. I mean, Reggie, as soon as you saw him as a 14-year-old, you just immediately know that's a Division I
It's a
prospect.
big guy.
I mean,
It's
good
a big kid.
God.
It's a kid that's so that big. It's
You know-
crazy.
One thing that I joke about, and keep in mind, love the family, love the parents, love all the kids, like tremendous people. Like I have met very few people, in my opinion, that are as great as the Grimes family, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I know everybody has their own opinions about certain things, but here's what I'll say, dude. When you are a D1/professional prospect,
Yeah.
you look at a 14-year-old age in some cases.
Yeah.
Like most of the time, like professional athlete, you can spot them at super young ages. Like,
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's just like they are the anomalies.
Yeah, there's like these like super athletic kids that schools are going. I mean, like Gigi Bryant, like she was approached by UConn at a super young age. Like
Mhm.
she was really really young,
Yeah.
and they basically were just like, hey, you're gonna be in.
And part of it's pedigree, right?
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
Your parents and
Yeah,
whatnot.
of course. But take Kobe aside, she was a freak of nature.
Yeah.
Child athlete, like
Yeah.
she balled.
I think my thing with that is that, like, I don't know. I was actually reading an article about this, and I do want to talk about some of the stuff that you do because it's really cool. But real quick, I just want to bring up this interesting topic about how Division I athletes nowadays are beginning to look more and more different than they ever have before. I was actually reading an article written on ESPN about how the Division I athlete now
Mhm.
more is like it's like a pedigree thing. It's like, oh, my dad was in college, played college football, or my mom was a college professional athlete, or they were professional athletes.
Yeah.
And now those people are starting to produce more of the Division I, the major sporting talents.
Yeah.
It's no longer that kid that you never heard of that's just coming out of. It's getting less and less of that.
Yeah.
And I think that's really interesting because
I'm glad
you know?
I'm glad it's disassociating itself like with the parents and like everything
Mhm.
because I mean like there's I mean like if I had a dad who was a famous athlete and everything and I was getting approached just because of that, I would feel like that's like I'm not getting the stuff and the recognition because of me. I would feel
Yeah.
like I'm getting the recognition because of
Yeah.
them, and then I would just I don't think I'd like that. I think I'm glad it's disassociating itself
Yeah.
from the pedigree side of everything. I think it's giving themselves an area of like I'm gonna make a name for myself, so they're gonna
Yeah.
push themselves even harder to get to what they want to do and where they want to
Oh, yeah.
be.
And I think that's exactly what we've seen. I mean, at least in our local cases. I mean, I don't know. I mean, first of all, I think Reggie Grimes is going to have a great career. Reggie Grimes.
Oh,
Jr.,
yeah.
I think he's going to have a great college
He's gonna have a
career.
big career for sure.
I think the kid is tremendous. I think
And he's a good kid as well. He's like good in school, does everything right.
Everything, man. I mean, when you talk about athletes and what you want out of them, by the way, just turned 18, so I feel comfortable saying this. Obviously, signed a college athlete. You know, it would
Yeah.
almost be like me talking about Malik Bowen, which if you haven't seen Malik Bowen's highlights, you should check it out.
Please.
Tremendous.
Go
But
Blue Devils.
go Duke, right?
Yeah.
But when you talk about Reggie Grimes, I think he has a great future ahead of him. I think in terms of everything that he's got, you know, listen, I'll be real honest, man. I think the kid is really smart.
Mm-hmm.
I think the kid is really athletically talented.
Mm-hmm.
I think that he comes from a great family that's going to keep his head on.
Yeah.
And I think that as far as it goes, the sky is the limit. It's
Yeah.
however he wants to push himself.
And with the whole pedigree thing too, like what you were saying about parents being there to kind of have their kids like a good head on their shoulders, that's when I think it's really good for like a parent who has gone through what he's going through and what he's preparing himself to do to kind of give them that advice and that like step ahead of the kids who I wouldn't say don't have that, but like you're just giving them an advantage over
It does
everybody.
help.
It
I
does
think that's
help,
the best
yeah.
way to say it.
Yeah,
You
it
know
does.
what I
Like
mean?
it does help, but it does help.
But it's
And-
not like overwhelmingly
Exactly.
awesome,
Yeah.
you know?
Exactly.
And
Like they're there to help whenever you need the help, but you do
Yeah.
the work that you got to do.
like one of the best examples I can tell you is like I remember one conversation we were because like dude, there's all sorts of kids that have like they all of a sudden they get some stars and then people start trying to handle them.
Yeah.
You know, they're like, oh yeah, I'm covering this kid, and like I remember one time, you know, Coach Grimes, the dad, was like, hey man, I got Jimmy Sexton's number on my phone. I don't need, you know, he was just like, I got an agent. You know, I got agents that I
Yeah.
can hit up. You know, I'm good.
Yeah.
But anyways, so you know, one of the biggest things that I wanted to talk to you about,
Mm-hmm.
and this is actually awesome. I think this is something that a lot of people will want to talk about and want to hear. But your involvement with Barstool has been so cool
It's been crazy.
to see. And so I don't know. First of all, I don't know Belmont. Can I mention that? Can I
Yeah,
mention?
go
Okay,
for
go
it.
ahead. Good. So Barstool. So
Yeah.
how did it start? I guess is the best way to put it. And where do you see yourself going with this?
So I started Barstool Belmont back October. I remember the exact date. October 24th, 2017 was when I started the account. I got into Barstool. So when I was a student at UTK, Connor Knapp was going to UTK.
Okay.
And so,
yeah.
And so he was running Tennessee account
Mm-hmm.
for Barstool. He's running Barstool Rocky Top. And so I
Pretty
would,
awesome.
and so I would help. I got to be good friends with him like through college and everything at UT. So whenever we'd be hanging out, like I'd kind of give him like some ideas for like tweets and content and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I never really like did anything to necessarily help. So when I transferred to Belmont, I waited. Like I knew I wanted to get involved. What he was doing is called the Viceroy program.
Okay.
And so I
Is
wanted.
that still a thing, by the
Yeah,
way?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So I wanted to join the Viceroy program. So when I got to my second semester at Belmont in fall of 2017, I waited a couple months, you know, just kind of like I wanted like first like tell the idea that I have like to like my friends and like to some of the people like what do y'all think like if this happened like how do you think it would do like what do you think? There are people who like doubted it and there are people who who were like by my side and there are people who were like kind of indifferent about it. So I was like, screw it, I'm gonna test the waters. I'm gonna see how I can do.
Yeah.
And so I hit up Connor and I said, hey, how do I get involved with all this? Like I want to get involved in the program. So I got in contact with Tex. He was an employee at Barstool at that time, which some stuff went down with him last year. He quit and everything. And so I got involved with Tex and I was like, hey, I sent him like a really long email. I was like, hey, my name's Addison. Like, I want to be a part of the Barstool Sports Viceroy program, and I want to run my own account for Belmont. I want to start it. I gave him like all my ideas and stuff. Like I want to turn this culture of a school around. That is, I want to make this place a little more fun for everybody because I realize it's really strict and
yeah.
and everything. I want because there was not anything that students had to have an outlet to like be themselves and like
There was no more yik yak, man.
Yeah, there's no more yik yak. Oh man, yik yak. That was a time.
Dude, yeah, I
that
mean,
was a time.
Barstool is like...
No, so, like, I sent him this long thing, and I was like, I can turn this culture around. Like, I know I can do this for the good for this school, and, like, it'll live on, like, when I'm out of school. And a week later, he was just like, yeah, sure, congrats, you're in the Viceroy program. Here's your username, password, logo. Go crazy. He sent me, he's like, just get started. Do what you do. Go ahead. He was like, attaboy, get in there. And I was like, all right. And so whenever I had questions, Connor was a really big helping hand with me and like getting started and like helping me like get used to like the content that I'd be doing and helping me just kind of get the reins of everything. So it took me a little bit to get the following that I ended up getting. But I mean,
dude, it's Belmont.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's Belmont exactly. But I mean,
for those of y'all that don't know, let me explain to the audience. For those of y'all that don't know. Belmont University in Nashville is like a small. It used to be affiliated with a church, a Baptist church.
Yep.
But I believe the early 2000s it dropped the affiliation and
private university.
Ever since then, it's just a private university that a lot of people recognize in Nashville as being
it's like a
really big place for music.
Yeah, it's recognized nationally and across the world as one of the top music schools in the world.
It just stinks because it's just not as good as Lipscomb.
you can shove that up your ass.
So that's one big thing that a lot of people don't also know about. But there's a big rivalry between the
Battle
schools
of the
that we went
Boulevard.
to called the Battle of the Boulevard. I went to Lipscomb University for my undergrad, and and then obviously Addison went to Belmont, so a little bit of love there.
Yeah, whenever we'd play, we'd always give each other some thoughtful messages.
That's the coolest thing to see, man. Like the bar stool for Belmont has grown.
Yeah.
Dude, there's a bar stool for Lipscomb.
And I started that.
I mean, that's insane.
I started that. Like, that was me for the first, 6 months of that. I started that and ran it. I ran both.
Thanks.
I would talk crap back and forth to myself. It was hilarious.
Oh, I don't know. Anyways, I guess that's how people.
It was awesome.
The mask will be uncovered. Now people know. Some Twitter, some social media beasts.
Well, now it's off in another kid's hands, and he's probably doing a bad job with it, but we'll see.
Dude, I mean, it's been crazy though. Like your
Yeah.
involvement with Barstool has grown so much to where
it's crazy.
you were at the point where you were going to be moving, dude. Like that's
I was literally going to be moving in like a month and a half, 2 months.
Dude, that's
And Corona just had to nip that in the butt.
old Rona at it again.
Yeah.
And
It is what it is. It still makes me upset, but shit happens. I live life. I gotta make money somehow, so I'm gonna do something here.
Yeah, I think if there's one thing that I've noticed about you, man, you're not gonna let one thing
No.
slow you down. You're gonna find
I've done enough at Belmont and with everything with Barstool Belmont that I've made plenty of connections in the industry, and I've done a lot of stuff in Nashville with this, so I'm fine. I'm gonna be fine.
I'm excited to see you continue growing and taking your career a different trajectory.
Yeah. And it was at first it was definitely hard with Belmont and everything because
I remember,
dude,
dude.
it was tough.
I remember. I mean,
Yeah.
you talked to me about
Yeah,
how
it was-
tough it was transferring. How it's the
It's
struggles of transferring as a college student.
Yeah, and then with the whole Barstool stuff, I'd make people upset every now and then, and with how small Belmont is as a school, word gets round, and so I have people coming up to me in my face, getting in my face, just wanting to complain about something, and it's really hard for me to not just bounce back.
As far as Barstool goes, do you think that it'll continue, on its trajectory of being one of the top platforms for people to get their sports information? It's just, honestly.
Oh, for Barstool Sports, that they're gonna take over. They're to the moon. They're gonna take over the media. Barstool is going to be, well, they are right now. I know at one point they have their app is above ESPN's on app stores and everything.
That's insane.
We're Barstool Sports for sports media is in the top 5 for sports media in the world.
I mean, just to be real,
pop culture.
If you were telling me right now, right now in the middle of all this going on, there's no sports going on. If you had me,
because now they're not just sports; they're pop culture and everything. So they've taken
That's
over
true.
everything. They have so many different sides of that company, and I was going to be starting a whole side. I was going to be building a music.
Really?
I was going to be building a music branch for Barstool Sports.
that's insane.
That's what I was
gonna.
That's what I was gonna be doing. And
Wow.
so, because they have everything for movies. They have Lights, Camera, Barstool for movies. They have everything for pop culture. I have everything that goes beyond TikTok. They have everything that goes beyond feminist movements. They have everything that goes beyond.
everything,
They have everything. Right. They have literally everything that covers everything. And so they didn't have anything for music, and that's what I proposed, and that's what I was going to be doing.
That's really cool that you saw an opportunity and were like, hey, man, this is a spot for it. Dude, I think that Barstool is just unique in the sense that if you handed me a Barstool story and an ESPN story, I love ESPN.
Yeah.
But if I'm trying to be entertained in the middle of no sports going on,
Read the Barstool story.
I'm probably gonna read the ridiculous ass sounding
exactly.
headline of what the Barstool.
I'm gonna read the story about Earl Thomas on Barstool Sports and the story about Earl Thomas on ESPN because you're gonna be and you can be entertained by that story on ESPN, but you'll definitely get.
I feel
more
like
out of
it's
it than everything else.
It's almost like boring news / informed news.
Yeah.
Versus here's the beat.
Here's the news.
Yeah. Here's what's going on.
Yeah.
You know what
Seriously.
I mean? And I can see the appeal to both, man. I can see the appeal to both, and I can see the time and place for both. But I love how Barstool has grown. It's just been so cool to see.
Yeah.
I mean, it's obviously you've got the Barstool high schools, and you're just like, oh
I remember
no,
I saw that from Mount Juliet. And I was
please.
just like, I remember you sent it to me, and I was just like, come on,
Come on, man.
you can't do that.
Like, there's just I think that one thing that like you got to give Barstool credit for is like they're not afraid to cross the line.
No,
but there's a line that they know shouldn't be crossed.
That's the thing what made me love Barstool is just because they speak what they want to speak. Like, I mean, when the company first started as a newspaper, the slogan was for the common man by the common man.
Yeah.
Like, we speak what we want to speak, and that's that. If you got a problem with it,
Don't read it.
don't read it. Seriously, that's literally what it is. Like,
Yeah.
if you don't like it, don't read it, don't watch it, even though it's everywhere.
Yeah. But dude, like I said, it's been cool to see Barstool grow. And I enjoy their material. It's I would say it's up there with like when you talk about like publications that you enjoy. Like I enjoy
Yeah.
The Onion.
And like some of my like best friends now are like people that I've met that go to other schools that work in the same program as I do. Like I remember we'll have me and a lot of my buddies. We do this thing called like the Viceroy Meetup. We'll all like plan like a date or like a weekend or something, and our buddy has like a beach house up in I think it was like North Carolina or something like that. And we'd all go to the beach house and we'd all hang out and like we'd have like our yearly hangout with everybody.
Dude, that must first of all, you almost have some pretty funny roasts about some of the opposing schools and whatnot.
One time we had Ohio State and Michigan there at the same time, so that was pretty fun.
Oh my, yeah, some of the Barstool, Michigan.
Yeah, one of my best friends. He's one of my really 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 good friends that I met in the program. Joel. He ran the account for Ole Miss and started it, and so he ran that. And so whenever Ole Miss would come and play Vandy, he'd always hit me up, come in town. We'd all hang out and everything. So I've gotten a lot of like really really good friends throughout this whole thing. So I'm not just like gaining like job opportunities. I'm also gaining like memories and friends that I'm gonna cherish for like the longest times.
Yeah, a lot of people talk about find a job that you enjoy, and that seems or find something that you enjoy doing.
Yeah,
that can be a job.
Yeah, exactly.
And it seems like that's kind of what you're headed towards.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get to something like I'd rather make less money doing something that makes me happy than doing something that I hate where I'm making more.
Dude, I mean, honestly, that's 1,000% true. Like that's been one of my phrases in the classroom all the time that I've always told kids. I was like,
something that makes you happy.
Every class that I tell them, I'm like, yo, when I stop enjoying this, I will walk out. I will leave.
Yeah.
Like I don't. It's not that I don't care. It's just that like there's too many things in life that are more important than like going to a job that you hate. Or like being a part of like a rat race that you're never gonna win. Like there's just so many things that kind of go into it. It's like, dude, look, to be real honest, and I hate to say this, but like if you're making, like if $30,000, $40,000 a year, and you're putting in your retirement, and you're plugging in, you're clocking in every day, like, dude, that is a tough life. And guess what? You probably will never be a millionaire with that. You will probably just be status quo, which is not a bad thing.
Of course.
But like, if you want more out of life, if you aspire for more, if you aspire to just like push the limits and see what you can do, like, dude, that's just, you will always be unfulfilled doing that.
Yeah.
And so like, that's why I think it's so important to chase things that you're going to do, that you're going to enjoy, and to find things that you're going to enjoy and do them for a living as possible. I don't know, dude. It's been cool to catch up. Hopefully our audience gets a chance to check out the Beans.
Yep. Apple Music and Spotify. You can find us on there.
Boom.
Beans with 2 E's.
2 E's. No A.
No A.
2 E's.
Got to be creative somehow.
Well, man, it's been a pleasure having you on.
Dude.
The next time that you guys are coming out with something, or that you're coming out with, I'm sure that we'll probably go ahead and revisit this.
We're in the midst of recording one right now. We're about like halfway done, so getting there. Got a couple other stuff we got to throw on it.
Any other special things you want to throw out there? I know you talked about talking to Emmanuel Hall earlier.
Yeah, so I don't know if I want to plug my show on your show.
Dude, go ahead, man. Like,
my show is called Sports Ball. It's on I do with my buddy Trip. It's on this streaming app called Yo Radio. We're on the Counterculture Radio on the Yo Radio app, and that's where you find us.
Counterculture.
Counterculture Radio.
You guys talking about conspiracy theories over
We
there?
do.
What's your favorite conspiracy theory?
Oh man,
If you had to pick one right now, are aliens real?
aliens are real. That's a fact.
That's a fact?
That's a fact.
That's a
aliens
fact.
Are real. Aliens are real.
Wow.
That's happening.
Wow.
No. Conspiracy theory. There are UFOs in Area 51. That's my favorite. Or the Illuminati shut down the lights in the Super Bowl when the Ravens and the 49ers played.
They were like, no, we're not going to have this result. Pause.
Yep. That's probably one of my favorites.
Man, that's crazy. Honestly, like I said, we appreciate you guys joining us from all parts of the world. From our listeners internationally to our listeners locally to our listeners, all across the country. We appreciate you guys tuning in. If you guys want to see more of our podcast, we will section this off. We will break it up into small parts on our YouTube. I believe they call them VODs.
Maybe.
But anyways, so if you guys want to check out the video version of our podcast, you can always look at us up on YouTube, eMusk Media. The podcast, Total Media Live. We're on episode 12, so we appreciate you guys so much for tuning in to our great friend, Addison Simmons of the band The Beans.
Whoop. Glad to be here, guys. It was fun.
Well, after all, we will see you next week. Signing off. Thank you guys so much for joining us.